Rockford leaders serve as members of a panel at a student-moderated event at Marshall Middle School discussing topics of free speech and public education. The panelists were Rockford Mayor Tom McNamara, attorney and advocate, activist Linda Zumba, and Rockford Public Works Director Scott Sanders. The event is part of the school's 7th grade ELA project. Teachers say the students attended several moderation workshops ahead of time, developing the skills and questions for today's event.
You can tell that the adults in the audience and the panel themselves were excited and invigorated by the kind of quality and question that the students brought forth, whether it was the sweetness of a young child asking about cell phones or the seriousness of ICE and safety in schools.